to another episode of There Are Four Hosts, everyone. As usual, there are four hosts. I'm Sabrina. You can find me at VoidCat Gaming at Twitch, Instagram, or Twitter.
And I'm Michael. You can find me at Blue Beetle Games on Twitter.
I am Jonathan. You can find me at Just Average J, pretty much everywhere on the internet.
Hi, I'm Keith Justice. You can find me on Twitter at Keith Hayward Prime, or just look up Keith Justice and you might find my picture somewhere.
Yep, sometimes your mic drops out on me, Keith. But
crap,
that's
sorry.
fine. No, I just so you know. Right, so this week we, in preparation for Star Trek Picard to come out, we're so close, you guys.
I know.
It's just like 2 weeks. Oh my god.
I can't wait. Less than 2 weeks, I think.
There's 12 days, 2 hours, and 19 minutes.
Oh, well, thank you, Michael.
What's the launch date?
The 23rd.
23rd. Mm-hmm. Except
How dare you not know that?
The premiere is this Friday.
I like being surprised.
I think it might actually be the premiere is next week. Today? I don't know, but we're not going to find out about it until everybody else sees it. All right, so we talked about Q already. We talked about Nemesis already. So this week we thought we would talk about Jerry Ryan. Rewatching, we rewatched a couple episodes. I made everybody watch them. I'm very mean like that. And
we
you guys,
all 8 seasons.
It's been a while.
It's so mean to watch Jerry Ryan on screen. I mean, really.
Right.
No, but seriously, it's been a while since I've watched Voyager, like, not while I'm falling asleep, to be honest. And Jerry Ryan, like, she's such a great actress. It really stunned me. Like, just tiny little moments. So we rewatched The Raven, and there's that scene where Neelix tries to make her eat. And for the first time, and she's just she goes to sit down and, like, checks the chair behind her to make sure, and then, like, goes down. It was genius. Just little moments like that. The way she walks, it's just like, I forgot how great she is, and I'm so excited to see her again. Just Jerry Ryan.
Well, it's so funny because her interactions with Naomi Wildman. I haven't watched Voyager in a long time. I mean, I'd watch it kind of on syndication here and there, but I've not actually just sat and just watched it to watch it and enjoy it. And that last episode you had us watch, season 6, I forget which one it was, but Naomi Wildman came in and was like, you know, I felt like you just needed family or something like that. Like the interactions between her and Naomi are just family. They like make my heart melt, and they're both so good. I mean, the actress that plays Naomi Wildman is so young, but her and Jerry Ryan just are so good. It's amazing.
That episode.
I'd forgotten how.
By the way, Survival Instincts 6.2.
Yes, thank you.
What came to 7 and 9 for me was I was a holdout for Voyager for a long time, much like DS9, because I like my Star Trek like I like my Star Trek TNG. And then, like, I just kind of watched from the sidelines. I was like, oh, sexy girl in a tight costume. Now I see why everybody's into it. And then, like, you know, finally, like, I just ran out of shows to watch. I was like, all right, let me do this Voyager. And every time I come back to Voyager or Star Trek like this, it feels so good. I love the sets and the costumes. And when she showed up, I was like, all right, here we go. And no, she kills it. Like, she's quite sexy. But I never quite put my finger on why it felt like the entire show got better and the stories got better. Like, why couldn't they do that with Kes? Like, is it so hard to write for her?
I definitely can't speak to what happened there, but that is an interesting thought. Michael, I feel like you were going to say something earlier and I cut you off.
Oh, no, that's fine. I was just going to say I'd forgotten how much I liked Voyager, so thank you for making us watch some. I'll have to go back and watch more now after I've seen it.
Just select episodes. There are certain episodes I have no intention of rewatching while I'm conscious, fully conscious. But, you know, I think there's a couple of those episodes in every show, honestly. We tend to treat TNG kind of like as a Bible, but it's got some...
there's some real stinkers in there.
Of course, I mean, Voyager still has the one episode that everybody was like, we'll just call that one not canon. Voyager has that metal,
Lizard?
I guess. Yep, that's the episode. That's the one.
They travel through time so hard that Janeway and Paris have a child as lizards.
Yep.
I knew that's what you were talking about.
But who knows which one was on top? You know, you guys, it could have been Janeway.
We all say, we're not going to count
when
that one.
That was when they broke warp 10, I think, and that was the side
that's
effect,
the
right? Yeah, that's, I mean, because, you know, there had to be a side effect to Warp 10, right?
Oh, of course.
But no, what I love, it's the same thing, like with Voyager, you almost forget how powerful Janeway is. Just, I mean, Kate Mulgrew's amazing. She's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the relationship between her and Seven, and that you know, it's almost like beating, like banging their heads together. You know what I mean? Like they have this.
They're both strong-minded, and they both have opposite desires and expectations often.
But it's amazing how well they play off each other, and just how strong they both are, especially together. It's. I mean,
and B'Elanna also. Don't forget about B'Elanna.
Oh, of course. No, she's amazing. I mean, it's that whole cast. That, well, with the exception of a couple, but in general, that whole cast.
Who are you talking about?
It's okay. We don't have to be specific.
No. Well, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't care. I wanna like Chakotay because I like the idea of like someone who's the way my son would put it is who speaks for the trees, like the Lorax, like someone who is earthly and you know, like Native American, like that whole thing appeals to me. But then it just is so off base with a lot of what Star Trek is. You know what I mean?
Considering that they hired a native expert who was well known to be a fraud at that point, we can't be super shocked by what happened with Chakotay there. But I do agree. You know, Robert Beltran in other like post-show conventions made it pretty clear that he wasn't very happy with Star Trek, and I feel like that reflects in the show. And actually, that was one of the things I was really pleased about. I heard, unfortunately, that Kate Mulgrew didn't get along with Jerry Ryan while they were filming, and you know, even though I can understand why, it's still like a little saddening. But I'm very glad that you can't see that in the show, and that it doesn't seem to affect her Janeway towards Seven.
I look
she's
for
still
it every
really
time.
congenial. Yeah, right,
Well,
right.
It just shows how great of actresses they are. You know what I mean? Like when, especially Sabrina, you know this as an actor or actress. You know, you have to be able to turn that on and off. You can't. Your person, like you become the other person. You can't. I mean, there's a certain aspect of you that comes into your characters, but at the same time, if there's a job, you're doing a job. You have to be able to turn it off and do that job.
If your relationship between characters is supposed to be like, for example, mentor and mentee, then if you hate each other, too bad. You know, you can't.
I mean,
it shows how professional they were too.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was. That's what I meant. It just is kind of amazing.
I was listening to a podcast that had the actor of Harry Kim on it called Geekscape or Geek Podcast, whatever. So like he let loose on like everything, and like he was. And I'm not gonna dig into like gossip, but it's what I always find very interesting. Like he was saying how like Carrie Mulgrew Janeway definitely didn't like the actress that played 7 of 9. 7 of 9 didn't want to have anything to do with the drama, so they almost kind of kept them off scenes from each other, and like the set and like the crew would be uncomfortable because they would get uncomfortable. So every time those scenes happen, I'm waiting to see it. I never do, and I do always like seeing like Janeway and 7 of 9 like in scenes together. They always work out really well.
Yeah, it's a shame. They play off each other really well.
Yeah, they do. I know. It's just amazing to think about. You know, you watch this show and you all you do is see the show and see their characters, and it's easy to forget that outside of like they're other people, like they're Kate Mulgrew and Jerry Ryan, not 7 of 9 and Catherine Janeway. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Star Trek especially always has like a lot of stuff going on back behind the
scenes
curtain, as it were.
Yeah. But yeah,
Sure.
so
Backstage.
out of the 4 episodes we watched, what was your favorite one? I have a question. Like, that's my question.
Okay, but pick who's answering first then. Do it.
Yeah.
Well, this is your show today.
Oh,
So
you're asking me.
Sabrina,
That's true.
Sabrina, you go first.
Oh man, you know.
Uh-oh.
Be right back, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Wow, you're really next to your door.
His food's here. Sorry, everyone. BRB. Let's play the Be Right Back music, right? Do we have a jingle yet?
Yeah.
We're making it right now. It's happening.
This is all going in the podcast for the record.
Oh dear.
Yeah, exactly.
In IRL, this is real life, people. This is real life. This is what happens in real life when you're podcasting and your food gets
Like,
delivered.
we don't edit anything out here.
Just got La Bamba's burrito, everybody. If you're curious about my interruption, I'm so sorry, everybody. Anyway,
It's important. to have
Burritos,
food.
yeah.
All right.
Burritos are important. But anyway,
So-
let's resume.
For reference to this question, everyone, I made everyone listen to Scorpion Part 1 and 2, which is the two-parter that it starts out as an alliance between Janeway and the Borg, so they can defeat species 8472, and the second half of which is when they, work with Seven during the alliance, and then shenanigans happen. The Raven is when she starts getting flashbacks of her child self, and what the heck, Basic Instinct, I think is what it's called. I said it earlier. 6.2 is when you run into old members of her Unimatrix that she had kind of like forced to return to the Borg when they started experiencing their individuality, because she was freaked out by the memories of being a 12-year-old. And I gotta say, the Raven and Basic Instincts was very impressive for me in regards to Jerry Ryan's acting. Again, like, she goes from Seven's like stoicism to scared 12-year-old girl like immediately, and it's in the way that she uses her voice too. Like, adults don't cry like that. So as much as I was impressed by her acting, though, I'm still gonna go with Scorpion Part 2, because the interactions between Janeway and still Borg 7 are fantastic. And like we were talking about before, they have great chemistry, like in the mentor-mentee kind of situation, the strong headbutting situation too, but like their total refusal to back down from each other in that episode is just really fun. So Scorpion Part 2, I'm down.
That's actually my favorite too, to be honest with you. And it ties into this podcast because it's when Janeway talks the Borg into assigning a liaison, and then they're like, well, that's what Locutus. She was like, that's what you did with Jean-Luc Picard with Locutus. Let's do that again. And then it was I just felt it was a very it's like a throwback to Captain Picard and Locutus. I mean, this ties right into what our podcast is about, right? But also, it was just a very smart way to make that story work, because when you're dealing with the collective, it's like, well, how are you going to talk the collective into something? I mean, come on. But then the way they did it, I actually found pretty interesting. So I love that episode, and the acting, and Seven when she's a drone and not fully her human self yet. Like, she's so good. So good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And she's just so like, she just plays Seven so well.
Yeah. I liked, can I say Scorpion Part 1 and 2 is my favorite?
All
Absolutely.
right. I'll allow it.
Yeah, whatever.
No, I liked it as well. I think it was a good introduction to 7 of 9. One thing I didn't like about it was, my memory's fading on me, but it was either, I think it was at the end of Part 2 where like Chakotay got connected to 7, was trying to talk her, talk her down or whatever. That, I mean, I loved everything except that. That seemed kind of like a weak way to...
Yeah, the Chakotay mysticism thing, I think, is just not anybody's favorite.
It's like, we don't know how to, resolve the episode, so we're going to throw Chakotay in there, and it just seemed kind of weak. Yeah.
Keith?
All right, yeah. Mine is a clean sweep. It was Scorpion Part 2. That was my favorite.
Nice.
Yeah. It was a great introduction. I was always kind of impressed how much 7 and 9 did not look like she would be a main character. The way they put her on screen and like the way they have her makeup is very just like any other Borg until like we get to see her new costume. Then she's like a refreshed character and you see her out. But the thing that I thought was most interesting is that that was breaking the Prime Directive as hell, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Janeway does say that Kirk is one of her heroes.
Oof! Like
what
she
directive?
armed a enemy species that we're at war with to what
Listen. The
dimensional genocide.
The Prime Directive is specific about it being like, if it's a species that isn't at your level, But if
Yeah,
they're
pre-warp
already
or
like
something.
at the same level, it's fine. So it's fine, you guys. It's just
If you're gonna
trade of an
wipe
equal
out,
to an equal. It's not. We're not arming warheads. We're not arming like
so-
islanders with warheads here. It's fine.
so if an alien race starts talking smack to us and saying they're gonna wipe out our galaxy, it is totally on the level just to waste them, even if you're
Yep.
helping an enemy.
The
Okay.
prime,
Yup.
yeah, the
That's-
prime directive is really just kind of a big gray area. You know,
Yup.
there's no black and white. It's very gray.
Especially if you're talking to Janeway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen. This is the Delta Quadrant. It's already messed up. I don't know.
Prime directive is like an area code thing. Where like,
Well, it's
yeah,
like
I'm
and
not-
once they get home, they're not coming back for a while, so it's fine if it's
It's
fucked
fine.
up.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. By the time we come back, I mean, everyone will have forgotten about us, right?
Yeah.
Especially the
every-
Kazon, we'll be fine.
tell every alien species they run into that we're the Romulans. Yeah, look for us.
Yeah.
See you guys later.
Yeah.
Our ears
It's
totally.
like we're the Ferengi.
Oh dear God.
And fun fact about the Locutus thing was that Jean-Luc Picard or Patrick Stewart was actually thinking like, I don't want to keep doing this forever. So if you guys want to kill me off like right here, that will be my cutoff point, and Riker can take it over. But then he changed his mind, so he kept with us.
Wow.
Interesting.
Well, now here he is, years later, and he's putting Picard back on. So
Uh-huh.
there we are.
Something worked
well,
out. Lucky us.
yeah, some money changed hands, I think.
I hope it's lucky.
It changed into my hands.
Oh yeah.
All right, so while we're talking about the Scorpion, and since Jerry Ryan brought it up in the episode, so I mean, since you brought it up about Jerry Ryan being this in the episode, so Jerry Ryan, 7 of 9, was the Alliance leader against Janeway, with Janeway, whatever, and Locutus was used to communicate with the Borg. So what do we think about alliances being formed with the Borg, maybe in Picard? Michael, do you have any thoughts about that?
I think it would be interesting. We don't know, really what the story is with Picard yet, but yeah, it's. I think it'd be interesting. You just can never really trust the Borg, so I guess it would make for good TV, regardless.
Well, hence the name Scorpion. That was Chakotay's whole
yeah.
thing. Is like it's my.
I love that story.
It's my nature. You know what I mean? Like that's. So has the nature of the Borg changed? We won't know until we find out.
I am being a super snob about it, looking down my nose, thinking they're just gonna mess it up. And I'm so sorry, like I'm being skeptical. But they are bringing back Hugh, so does that seems to indicate that they do really care about maybe actually trying to use the continuity? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Or will he just be?
I
a
feel like,
cameo?
if I'm not mistaken, I feel like Patrick Stewart almost wouldn't come back unless, you know what I mean? Like he wants to tell the story of Picard.
I hope so.
20
Got
years
like
later.
Mummy 2 packed, the we won't do this movie unless it's better than the previous one kind of thing.
I think he was pretty specific about, hey, I'm not signing on to anything unless I agree that it's going in the direction that fits. You see what I'm saying? And that's his
Yeah.
character. That's his that's his thing. So I'm hoping that between the studio not wanting to mess it up, him being specific about, hey, this is how I want it to play out and how I want it to look, and I'll only sign on if that's how I feel. And for I'm hoping that all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and that the continuity and the timeline and the stories intertwine, and that it's true TNG Trek, not the full TNG. You know what I mean?
They said it's not going to be TNG
Yeah,
Trek. So
of
they
course.
said this is
Yeah.
a darker, more injured Picard.
Yeah. So, speaking of, have y'all watched the short treks?
No.
Not the recent ones.
Okay, okay. Then
When just came out yesterday, right?
a few days ago, I watched it, and it actually has a spoiler tie-in into Picard.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Are you going to tell us what it is? or-
That you guys have to tell me. If you give me permission, I will. But if you don't give me permission, I won't.
Okay. Only tell us if we guess it. How's that?
I doubt you'll guess it, to be honest
Let's
with
play
you.
20 questions. You guys, forget all the questions I sent you. Forget all the
Right. New
talk
questions.
we were going to have about Jerry Ryan. And let's play 20 questions what the spoiler was. You alrighty?
Yes.
Yes.
Can I ask?
Okay.
Do you feel it will actually ruin anything?
I don't think it'll ruin anything for the show. It just it was a very quick thing on the latest short trek that it was like a news story that was kind of frozen on the screen, and I don't think it'll ruin anything. I think
it's like a
it's a
background.
tie-in. It's a tie-in that gives you a little more insight into what's going on.
Oh, so it's like less a spoiler and more like an Easter egg.
Exactly. Yes, it's an Easter egg. That's
Okay.
exactly right.
Okay, so we know it's a news article. Or a news
A
posting. of
news
some kind.
story. Yeah.
Okay, so it involves one of the characters from Picard.
Correct.
Is it a
Is the character
TNG
dead?
character?
I'm sorry. What?
Sorry, you first.
Is it a TNG character?
Yes.
Okay. Keith?
Is that character said to be dead?
No.
Is it a vegetable?
No.
No, sorry.
I mean,
Does it have to do with Geordi?
No.
oh my god, that would be nice. Okay. So, Picard?
Yes.
Does it talk? Is it about like whatever disaster or whatever took him out of Starfleet or?
That's I
Federation?
believe so. That's kind of what the
Okay.
that's what the general consensus is.
Okay, is it like a diplomatic kind of thing?
That much we don't know yet.
Are we
Can you see
confirming
the
that
headline?
Yes, I could see the headline. I know what happened. You
Are we
can see
confirming that Vogue destroyed Romulus? Is that what you were gonna ask?
that Vulcan is still destroyed?
It doesn't.
They
It has
create that.
nothing to do with Vulcan.
Okay.
Okay, or Romulus?
Nothing
Is that
to
the one
do
that
with
was destroyed
Romulus.
in the Kelvin
Interesting.
timeline? Wait, which?
No, Kelvin
Um,
Kelvin timeline. They destroyed Vulcan. Our timeline, the Prime timeline, Romulus is destroyed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But that has
Romulus
nothing to
gets
do with
destroyed
this,
by
yeah.
shenanigans that Romulus does,
Yeah.
and then that sends Nero back into the other timeline to do all those shenanigans.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. But
But
no,
yeah,
it has.
Does it have to do with the Borg
Yeah,
at all?
No, it does
No,
not
Borg.
actually.
Okay.
It doesn't have to do with the Romulans or the Borg.
Nope. It actually.
All right,
and
I got
and
nothing.
I'm gonna say it came out of left field. This one I didn't see coming.
Are you
I
glad
think-
that you watched that though and saw that?
I am.
Easter
I
egg?
am. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it didn't give too much away. It was just.
Okay.
It was kind of like a little like here. I'm gonna feed you this little morsel, so you're
Okay.
even hungrier when Picard comes out.
Well, now I really want to
Ooh.
know. Okay.
Okay.
So, is it natural disaster related?
It's not natural, but it is a disaster.
That was a good question.
Like military fallout disaster?
Um.
Alliance fallout disaster?
You know,
Loss of a starship.
it's bigger than a starship, and it's. I don't know about alliances because I don't know enough about the backstory yet.
Okay, so something got destroyed.
Yes.
Like,
Cam-
sorry, go on.
Bigger than a starship though?
Yes.
Planet? Well,
Yeah. Planet. You're right.
okay.
Planet got
So
destroyed.
It didn't get.
planet?
It didn't get fully like obliterated, but the news. Okay, I'm gonna read the news headline or what I recall of it
Okay.
to you. Okay.
Sounds good.
So basically, the news headline said, "Synthetics attack Mars, 3,000 presumed dead."
Ooh.
Ooh, cool.
Now here's the
Damn,
thing. Here's the thing. Here's the twist. Who or what are synthetics?
either
Yeah,
androids
like,
or
is it-
holograms.
Yeah.
Right?
Or holograms. I mean, I guess,
Didn't-
but like EMHs.
And
Yeah.
the news video showed ships flying at Mars and shooting and destroying. Like there are a bunch of explosions on the surface of Mars, and it says synthetics attack Mars, 3,000 presumed dead or 3,000 confirmed dead or something like that.
Okay, that's
That is
interesting.
cool.
That's interesting.
I know.
Listen, so I don't know if it was an interview or whatever, but I read a rumor that said that Jerry Ryan said that the Borg are fractured and fleeting at this point, sort of how they were in Voyager. And I'm curious if the drones who leave the Borg for like maybe total individuality or maybe like pocket communes, kind of like they were stuck in Unimatrix, the other members of Seven's Unimatrix, and if synthetics are like ex-Borg.
And well, and
like,
that's the thing
because
is,
they feel attacked, so
That's a
they're
good thought, yeah.
they're doing some terrorism back.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like we don't know. Now I will say this: there was a follow-up news clip that popped up right after that said Admiral Picard devastated by attack on Mars.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's all it was. It was literally those two newsreels at the very end of the short trek that were a part of that story. First off, that short trek was amazing. I forget what it's
Who was
called.
about?
I forget.
I think Children of Mars.
Yeah,
or something?
yeah, Children of Mars, something like that. And it's about two girls. It's a really sweet and like it's very heartfelt. It's two girls on Mars whose parents are, or two girls on Earth, I believe, whose parents are working on Mars. And they show video of them talking to their parents, like to their one talking to her mother, one talking to her father, I believe. And then, but the two girls like hate each other. They fight. They get in a fist fight. They push each other. They pick on each other. They're very, very mean to each other. And then all throughout the episode, they're picking on each other. They're mean to each other. And then this happens, and like the last scene is them holding hands, looking at the TV screen, and like being there for each other. It was just super powerful and very heartfelt and very beautiful. And it had those two little snippets of what happened that tie into Picard, and it just, the whole thing was amazing. Those short treks are really, really, really well done.
Has there ever been a Star Trek thing where they said that Data has been mass produced?
Not that I
Nope.
remember.
In fact, the only time another android was created that I recall was when he made his daughter Lal. And she didn't make it because if I recall, the positronic brain or positronic net wouldn't hold or something like that.
Yeah.
And please don't make me watch that one because I'll cry.
Yeah,
all
I
over
know,
again.
I know.
And then I remember in Voyager there was a thing where holograms were being used as slaves, and I think, did they call themselves synthetics or they call themselves?
No idea.
I can't remember.
That I can't remember. Yeah,
So I'm curious.
I know.
It's been a long time since we watched Voyager, clearly.
Yeah, yeah, but you
Which
got to
is a shame,
remember,
because-
Voyager was in the Delta Quadrant. So if those holograms were slaves, that was in the Delta Quadrant, not in the Alpha Quadrant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No. It was the Doctor. There's a whole bunch of them, and it was like in the Alpha Quadrant.
okay.
And they're being used in mines.
Oh,
or
that's
something.
Oh,
right.
that's right. I forgot about that. You're right. Okay. Yeah. There. I mean, but that's just
There
it.
was a movie?
There's so much unknown. It's so good. I can't wait. I cannot wait for the
All
show.
right. My hope is now up a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more because that means they did actually try. So all right, let's do this.
I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
So Picard starts after he's already left the Admiralty, right? So that was, we presume, the triggering event to send him out.
That's the general consensus.
Starfleet?
That's kind of what people online are assuming. Yeah.
Presumably this war with the synthetics has been ranking up, or there's Cold War. There's like a Cold War, tension, kind of like we had with the Romulans and TOS. And Picard would do his best to, lessen tensions and make sure that we don't end up blowing each other to bits. So an attack of that magnitude would make him feel like his work is not doing anything, maybe. And then the resulting fallout of him feeling like Starfleet has ceased to listen to him and that they're heading for war is where this new show is taking place, perhaps?
Maybe. In my head, I'm thinking that some decision he made created this event. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Him
That he was
trying to
ignored.
do. Yeah. Not necessarily him trying to get the, everyone to cooperate, or like him being a diplomat.
Ooh, the guilt of him
Yeah.
screwing it up.
That's what
Nice.
you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, instead of him being a diplomat, I feel like and again, these are all, so everyone out there, first off, spoiler alert, sorry, I hope, from the stuff that we saw in short treks, apologize, I should have said that. Second off, it's that thing where, with Picard, and again, this is all like, we're just guessing. We're excited, just like you all listening, and we're just guessing. But I feel like instead of Picard being like diplomat Picard, trying to be diplomatic, I feel like he possibly made a mistake or made an executive decision about something, or he couldn't stop something that caused it. And I feel like the guilt of his decision is going to cause these ripples in this story. But again, that's just like in my brain where my head's going. You know what I mean?
I do.
I think that call is going to also cost it's going to cause the death of someone we know.
I hope so.
Well, Data's already dead. Oh, wait a minute. Is he? Just kidding.
Wait, spoiler.
Is he?
I
Is
don't
he?
know. He
We'll
did
see,
get
we'll
blown
see,
up by that Thalaron radiation.
I
But
do.
in the books and comic books and the video games, he does come back.
I know.
No,
I
no,
know.
forget those.
I'm just not canon. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I do love the idea of characters being driven by guilt and then having to face that guilt and change their decisions. Picard did in. I don't remember what episode it's on, but it's a famous scene, where Picard goes. That's the thing about being human. Sometimes you do everything right and you still lose.
Oh God, I love that quote.
So that is like kind of part of his character, that he understands that sometimes things will just not go your way. So I'm very curious about how it's going to be something bad enough to push him to make a decision like that. Or at least I hope it's something proportional and not that they just kind of like put that aside. I don't expect that from Star Trek, but I've seen that happen in other shows where it's like
Luke Skywalker. Sorry.
Yeah.
You gotta earn it. If you're gonna bench a hero, you gotta earn that story.
Yeah. As Keith knows, I just watched that final Star Wars movie last night, so it's still fresh.
And we'll talk about it
we're not
later.
gonna talk about it
Yeah.
here.
This
Right.
is the wrong
But
podcast
that's
for Star
another
Wars.
story.
Right.
All right. Totally different kind of subject. So I made you guys watch The Raven, and that's the episode where Seven kind of has like trauma flashbacks to being assimilated because she's receiving the homing beacon from her parents' ship.
Mm-hmm.
Can someone explain to me why Janeway finding out that she was hallucinating a raven is what told her it was her parents' ship? Is that like their last name or something? Did I miss that detail? Because
The ship was called the Raven.
okay.
Yeah.
So Janeway just happens to remember that 18 years ago, a ship with two famous scientists and their daughter went into the Delta Quadrant and disappeared, and it was named the Raven, and she put it all together like that. Good job, Janeway. Well done.
Yeah. Well, she's up on Starfleet history and everything.
Yep.
That one's her favorite because she likes ravens.
The
Yeah, maybe.
Well, she did say that her parents were pretty well known, so maybe they were more famous
Yeah.
than we
Yeah.
thought.
they were clearly
That's
quite
true.
famous. Famous.
Okay,
even.
there you go.
Okay, so the actual question I was going to ask you about the Raven. It like a lot of other Star Trek episodes tries to handle some PTSD kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We had that amazing even though it's off mocked, I'm sure. Amazing DS9 episode where O'Brien is in like a temporal stasis prison, and he thinks that 10 years have passed and he's killed that dude even though it's like minutes or whatever. Are you guys hoping for more stuff like that in Picard, or do you hope that it kind of stays more focused on the world and not like the psychological lives of the characters, or what are you looking for there? Keith, throw that one at you.
So for that, I like there's only going to be like 8 episodes, right, for Picard?
I think so.
So unfortunately, like in the new format of science fiction that we have right now, they have to get to the next story beat, and get to the end of the line instead of like the beautiful world we came from that had 26 episodes per season. So you could just have a chill episode where someone's just talking about their feelings and stuff. And I feel like we'll have dramatic scenes where people go, and I thought I did the right thing, but I didn't. And it was sad. And you're like, oh man.
But
good scene.
no,
But,
like,
yeah.
couch.
It won't go psychological.
No couch scenes, huh?
Yeah. I wish, but no.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's very likely that because we don't have that episodic format, they're not going to take the time to kind of breathe the characters out. But we'll see. Jay?
Yeah.
Oh, I actually,
Michael?
I really hope they do. I love the psychological stuff. I love when they kind of hone in on why people are the way they are, or why they chose this action or this reaction. And the human psyche has always been fascinating to me, and if for them to be able to portray it, the good, the bad, the ugly on screen, if it's done right, it's amazing, and it's amazing storytelling, and it's very real. But as Keith said, I don't know, just because they're on a limited schedule, so I feel like they're going to push the story forward. But I really do hope we see those internal conflicts, and there's I hope that we have that, even if it's just a little bit between him and like some old TNG characters that come onto
Marina
the show.
stops by for a chat.
Yeah. Like I mean it I would really like
Captain,
that.
I sense you want to chat.
Exactly. I sense it all the way from Beta Z.
Michael, I think you had something to say.
Oh yeah, I actually agree with Keith and Jay. I mean, they don't have time to do it, but I do like those little insights into the characters.
Maybe they'll give us
And
like
like,
little sneaks.
yeah, and I think, thinking of like a season that has 26 episodes, to me that sounds exhausting because there's so many shows to watch. So I actually kind of prefer the more condensed 8, 10, 12 episode seasons.
The only thing I don't like about the shorter seasons is the fact that we have to wait longer for the next season.
Yeah.
And that drives me crazy,
That's
you know,
true.
and that's binge culture, you know what I mean? But
That's how you do it. You have 12 shows, and in January you watch show 1, and then in February you watch show 2, and then
binge,
That's not how it
binge
works.
culture. There we go.
The binge culture is like kind of stressed me out a little bit. So,
Yeah.
because like I don't want to have to keep up with everybody and whatnot. And the thing that I'm loving that I get to experience Stargate for the first time, and they are in that world where you get 26 episodes, is the feeling where you get to just sit down and be in that world. Like there's no rush to get to, you don't get, there's no rush to get next scene or next set. Like I'll just sit on like astrometrics with 7 of 9 as she's trying to figure out some kind of equations, or like you go into the captain's ready room where she's got like coffee and you're just like hearing the sound of the engine. I like the slowing down aspect of longer series where you can get more just messing around.
let's go back to episodic.
There's coffee in that nebula. I know.
One thing I wanted to touch on with the PTSD was the episode where she found those 3 other ex-Borgs. I love the scene where they all start losing their shit. They're like, oh my god, I got captured. Oh my god, I had family.
Yeah.
And they all just kind of like, they interact like Borg, like computers are like, holy crap, okay, we're gonna freak out. Everybody erase your memories. They're like, that's a great idea. And it's kind of like that.
Yes.
They're a species that can like talk like that to each other.
Agreed.
Yeah, that was such a powerful episode. You know, it's for her to get to the point where she made the decision of like, hey, no, we're not going to give him back to the Borg. I mean, it just shows that character arc that she had, where all she wanted to do was get back to the Borg, and she fought Janeway, and she fought the Voyager crew, and she fought, and then she's fully embraced being a human part of the crew, and then she makes this decision that's not easy, to basically give them a shortened life, but a life without being connected, and like no collective. And that's I mean, it's just, God, the writing's so good on those shows, man.
And they name dropped the Excalibur, ship I served on in an audiobook. It was so much I was on it was like one of the first audiobooks I ever did. It was a road trip, and they had like music and sound effects. And it was an ambassador class, like the Enterprise just before the D. It was called the Excalibur with Captain Morgan, and like a ship, a plant blows up, and there's like a bird in it. It was awesome.
There's a
but
bird.
Yeah, they name drop. Yeah, it was it was awesome and stupid. It was definitely not something you'd see in Star Trek, but I was kind of excited when like I perked up. She was like, "I was aboard the Excalibur." I was like, oh, "Captain Morgan, I know that one."
While we're talking about that episode, she says at the end of the episode, in the conversation with our lovely doctor, she has to decide, like you were saying, whether to give them a long life back in the collective or whether to allow them to stay separate, but they only live a month. And she says, survival is inefficient, is insufficient, so that just surviving is not enough. What do you think about that, huh? Individuality is more important than surviving for a long time, is what she literally means there. But yeah, what do you think about that,
Who do you pick?
Michael?
I don't know. I think I liked her decision because I think it kind of made them. She didn't want to send them back to the Borg, and so she chose to give them that individuality. I mean, I think I would rather have that too, even if it was for like a day or an hour, as opposed to being in this collective, state. So I would have done the same thing. I think, chosen to kind of set them free, so to speak.
Is there anything in your life you would rather not survive than not have? Like free will? Free will is a fine reason. I mean, you already said that, I guess, but...
So repeat the question, I'm sorry.
Survival is insufficient. If you were only surviving, like, it'd be worthless. What can you not live without? Please tell me.
I don't know.
Just threw that one at you guys to mess with you. because I always want to delve deeper into people's brains, and I thought I would just trick you into thinking we were talking about nerd stuff, and then just cut right in.
I'm happy to answer. Happy to answer that.
I'm going to pass that on to Jay.
Okay.
Because I actually so the quote was what was that quote again? I forget.
Survival is insufficient.
Yes. So it that whole thing kind of made me think about like when people like. And this is extreme, and I will apologize if this triggers anyone who's listening. I apologize, but it makes you think. When you hear a quote like that, and when you see a scene like that or a show like that, it makes you think. Okay, what happens? Like, what would happen if I were to become a vegetable, right? Or if I were to become, it's at what point would I just say, you know what, I'd rather live a week with this ability than 40 years without being able to move my body or to like and mind you, it's not a set thing. It's fluid because throughout your life you find strength, but then you also find weakness. And I found that dial that I have inside me changes because there are some times where I'm like, you know what, I couldn't take something super simple, or and again, I'm not going to give examples because I don't really know, but it's almost like I have more strength some days than I do other days, so depending on what the situation is. But that being said, I know that I want to live my life the way I want to live it, and I don't want to and I want to enjoy it the way I want to enjoy it, and that the definition is hard to pinpoint. You know what I mean? But it does make you think about those decisions, and it's such a powerful thing. I mean, you're thinking about the bigger things than just this bubble that you have. And that's stuff we should think about. So I think I kind of danced.
You have that Maslow hierarchy of needs.
Yeah,
there.
I kind of danced around it, but because there's no specific answer, but I would say that I would be, given the decision that she had, I would have been grateful to her for allowing me to end on my own terms, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it does.
Keith?
Mine's not as straightforward. It's like when it comes to being a Borg, it feels like I've seen every so often in stories everywhere is like it might be a legitimate existence. Where they like, when some Borg talk about it, they're like, yeah, but I'm never alone and we don't argue, we're efficient. And from the outside, from you guys who are always, meat bags and like arguing with each other all the time, it might look like, torture. But some Borg I have seen like say, no, it's legitimate. So that I was thinking, wait, why not put them back? They'll be maybe at peace, or would they still be split off from everyone and be tortured? Because like if they had a chance to have some kind of like existence at all, and then down the road when like the Federation totally does whoop their ass and maybe they could be like freed, like to me, like being a part of the Borg gives them a chance versus what they got, which is like just living out their life. But yeah, it also came down to the characters themselves, because each one of them was like, phew, okay, glad I'm dying. So
you would feel that survival is enough in the short term, if there's a chance that in the long term you can get the things that you want.
Yeah, in the long term, and also like I've seen that the Borg do seem to feel that they have a legitimate existence that isn't just constant torture.
Yeah, they're like almost offended when humans are like, don't you want to be an individual? Like, that sounds terrible. Why would you want that?
As an individual now, they're like, no, I don't want that. But like 7-9 knows that it's not an endless hell being in there, and then you have a chance at all. So for me, like the only way I would check out is if I can't actually be what I consider Keith anymore, like my body and brain have been broken down enough that it's just taking in sustenance, then if there's no hope in the future, I can check out. But I was like a chance for the future.
I don't know, you can check out, but you can never leave.
Wasn't there a TNG episode about a hotel that did that? The Royale Hotel Royale, yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen that one, if that's the case.
It was a great episode.
All right, well, that's all I got for you.
All right. Well, do you guys think that, or do you guys think that being a Borg might at all be a legitimate life?
Listen, I know. I mean, there are people out there who deliberately choose a lifestyle of like giving their what's the word I'm looking for here?
Individuality?
Some people choose to be slaves on purpose.
Yeah. Yep.
And obviously, like, there's protective. There's like they enter it in with somebody that they trust very much, and I'm not talking about people who get forced into this. There's a small subset of people in the world who choose to allow other people to control their every action, when they eat, whatever, because they feel safe and they feel like somebody's taking care of them. And I think for somebody like that, maybe the Borg wouldn't be so bad. But for me, I could not handle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Borg would be a legitimate existence, because I think I don't think the Borg, they think they're helping people. They don't really think that they're evil. They think they're, everybody wants to be assimilated.
They just want to be perfect, and they're helping other people get perfect. I mean, what's wrong with you guys? Why are you arguing all the time?
Yeah, so when you look at it from that perspective, it's kind of interesting. So I wouldn't want to be a Borg, but I see why they're trying to do that for people, I guess.
And then, like, not to go against what I just said, but I guess, like, if I'm a Starfleet officer and I'm on duty, and we are at war with the Borg, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, fuck them. Sorry, you're not going back. I'm not gonna let you go back and maybe kill other people. So I'm gonna free you, and it'll be great. And I'm sorry, I'm not helping the Borg ever.
The way I feel, I have enough voices in my head. I don't need to be a part of a collective. So.
Right.
But they're all supposed to be the same voice, unified somehow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and maybe you know what? Maybe it would make me a little bit more sane. I don't know. Maybe it would be a good thing. Hold on. Let me think about this.
Oh, dear God.
Yep. Then that's a fun way. Like, would you go back into the collective? Because I was thinking, like, if it was me, yeah, send me back because I don't want to die. And
nah.
I'm positive they don't experience time the same way. So eventually, maybe I might get to that future where I do get freed. So fingers crossed.
I'm already just like a gear in the capitalist machine. I'm cool. No thanks. If I have the choice to leave, I'm leaving.
Right. Too funny. So, okay, I have a question, though, actually. This is since we're talking about Picard, and I'm sorry if I jumped in on anyone.
How weird that we would talk about Picard here.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah,
What's wrong with us? What's wrong with me? No, Jerry Ryan, or 7 of 9, in the new Picard show. What are your thoughts? Like, what are your hopes? What are your expectations? What do you hope to see? Do you feel like she would be a recurring character, or is it going to be a one episode kind of thing? Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, I hope it's kind of a recurring. I mean, like, I like her character and the actress. So I hope they don't just bring her in as kind of like a fan service to get people to watch. I mean, I'd like it to be an ongoing thing. That's my opinion, anyway.
I'm all for thinking it's gonna be fan service. Like, it's gonna be we're gonna get one scene of like, aw, awesome. We get to see Picard and 7 of 9 talk, which I am very cool with.
Yeah.
But I feel if that's what we're gonna get, it'll be a great scene of them going against each other, and then by the end of the episode, someone will come looking for something, and that means she has to bust out 2 machine guns with 2 hands, and
which is cool.
And then just
after she
go
after she does her
Terminator
action sequence, she'll wink at the camera and say "Good night, folks."
Yeah.
That's the last we'll see her.
She goes all John Wick.
Oh, John Wick.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Anyway, back to Picard. I hope. So first off, her story arc ties very closely in a lot of ways with Jean-Luc Picard and Locutus. So I mean, they're the two Starfleet personnel, even though like 7 gets picked up in the Delta Quadrant, but she's still a part of the crew. You know what I mean? So so Jean-Luc was assimilated as an adult to be Locutus, and then she was chosen to be the liaison for Voyager, like Locutus was. They share something in common that no other two people really share. So
Except
That's a
maybe
good point.
Hugh.
yes and no, because Hugh wasn't chosen to be a liaison. He didn't choose to be an individual communicating.
maybe.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying.
He
But
didn't end up being
yeah,
it, though.
but yeah, I know. These are all great questions. And since we know Hugh is there, we know Seven is there, we know Picard is there. I mean, how amazing would it be for them to focus on those relationships and those just those qualities that they have in common from being both Borg and human. Do you know what I mean? Like there's so many similarities between them, and there are things that no other human can really share with them, except for obviously like the ones that have, because we don't know who is out of the Borg now, who has been unassimilated. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot that could have happened, but where it ended in Nemesis, and where it ended for Voyager, Seven, Picard, and yeah, maybe Hugh, really have something that no other humans can really talk about or understand each other with. You know what I'm saying? And it's really,
Having been part of
and it's I'm really, really excited to at the possibility of them hopefully exploring that. You know what I mean? Like, because if you can get that genuine Seven and Picard speaking about their experiences, or the, like just, it's that psychological stuff, which probably isn't going to happen, like we talked about earlier, but to get more into their heads and just to have that interaction between those two, I'm so down for, and I really hope that they do that.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly think there's at least going to be an investigation of the psychology of the Borg between Picard and Seven, if only because they need to stick that in there to kind of explain to the audience what the Borg are doing. So I'm sure we'll get that scene. I hope that we get more of Jerry Ryan than we get of the other cameo characters, simply because the fact that she was in it came out so much earlier. I have faith in that. Whereas we kind of found out that Marina Sirtis and Jonathan Frakes and stuff were on set, but not a lot came out about that, whereas like Jerry was actually invited to the Picard panel and everything. So I have faith that she's going to get a bigger role, especially because she was such a huge fan favorite in Voyager, and Voyager is not getting its own series.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's such a stronger thing to do because they weren't on the same series. You know what I'm saying? It's easy. Like that, it's fanfare to have Riker.
It's universe expanding.
Yeah. It's fanfare to have Riker, to have Troy, to have Data, like the people from TNG. It's almost like we expect those cameos. Not that that's not that we shouldn't get them. Please, CBS. I like those. I want those cameos. But to have Seven become a recurring character, or to have her be the more of a part of Picard than those other cameos, I think would be so cool, because yes, it is expanding that universe. It's bringing Voyager and TNG together in a way that hasn't been done. I mean,
except for Reg Barkley.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be awesome to see them interact for the first time.
Can't
I
wait.
think.
Yeah.
Can you tell I'm a fan? No? Yes?
No. Are you guys excited? Leave stuff in the comments about it. Yay!
Absolutely.
But for realsies, Jerry Ryan, very excited. I always want to see more of her. I feel like I haven't seen her since she popped up in that like Mortal Kombat show they were making.
Was it the 90s one?
No. It was just like a web series.
Oh, okay.
Well, I saw her in Leverage. She was on that TV show Leverage.
Yeah. You know what?
She was so
She was in
good.
an episode of Leverage where she wore a dress that I owned, and I was like,
Cool.
I
don't know that dress
I
anymore,
watched that
unfortunately,
show like every week. I loved that show, and she became a recurring character. I mean, she was toward the end of that show, she was a big part of it. And I mean, again, an amazing actress. Jerry Ryan, if you're listening, we are fans. You're amazing, and thank you for everything you've done.
And if you're not Jerry Ryan and you're listening, you're amazing and we love you too. But go watch Leverage for some more Jerry Ryan.
Yes, absolutely. It's a great show. And yes, we love and appreciate all of you listening. Thank you. I just, in case the universe happens to have Jerry Ryan listen to this, I just had to put that out there. Huge fans.
Of course. Mm-hmm.
Good call.
If that wasn't clear from us just like fawning over her acting.
Yeah, I know.
Saying how she alone improved an entire series.
Yep.
Now,
You've got that energy, Jerry. Let's go.
Now, here's a question that's a little different. It's kind of on a different, and I'm sorry I keep doing this, but things keep popping in my head, and I want to know. So, she kind of helped Voyager become what it was, right? Like she's seen as someone who was a huge impact positively to the show, right? Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
why is there so much bashing on T'Pol on Enterprise? Do you see what I'm saying? Like that they do you see what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, they're two different actresses and they're two different like levels, and it's a whole thing. But still, you have all this, fanship of Jerry Ryan and of Seven, and then you get almost the opposite with T'Pol and I can't think of her name right now. It'll come to me later.
Jolene Blaylock.
Jolene Blaylock.
Yes,
Yeah.
and is it the acting? Is it the series itself? I mean,
I don't know.
think it's the series
yeah.
itself.
Okay.
I liked Enterprise, myself, and I liked T'Pol as well. So I couldn't.
I'm
tell
with
you.
you.
Around.
Yeah,
I came
I'm with
around
you,
on Enterprise.
Michael. I actually am a fan, and I liked her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I haven't heard much dislike about T'Pol. I was just thinking that it has to do with Enterprise as a whole, because that is the one that people like to give shit and like roast a lot, and
Which I don't get.
I don't
personally.
either. Show. For me, the reason why I disliked it at first and definitely hold it at the bottom of the list is I don't want to go backwards in time when it comes to
No
developing
more
a
prequels.
sci-fi
No
universe.
more prequels.
Yeah, I agree with you
I don't
there.
need to know how this is built up here, and I have been dying to see how does the galaxy progress after Voyager. I want to go back on a nice Apple-esque Starfleet ship with nice lighting and
Yeah.
explore the weirdness of the universe. That's what I want. So instead, they go back in time so we can see the first Enterprise, and like also, I'm not a fan of starships that have a submarine look to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're that far in the future, you can make something that looks nice and comfortable.
I will admit, on Enterprise, one thing I didn't like was the whole read alert thing instead of red alert.
I thought that was
I
funny.
know, I know, but I'm like, come on, guys, like seriously.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
I don't remember this.
I actually liked Enterprise, and I am a huge Scott Bakula fan since Quantum Leap.
Well,
so.
were we talking about
same
Enterprise
here.
or
Oh,
T'Pol getting backlash? Those are two different.
No, I
things.
know. I think it kind of went from T'Pol getting backlash into just Enterprise in general. Organic.
Well, you asked, and
Yeah.
I haven't answered yet. As I'm sure you know, and the two of you will know very shortly, female representation and being shown as like sexual objects is very close to my heart. That drives me crazy. What I gotta say about that very shortly is that 7 of 9 was brought on, obviously in that outfit, corset and heels, to be a sex object, but Jerry Ryan like blasted out with her charisma and her skill, and people like it. She definitely became a lot more than that. Jolene didn't have as much of a chance to do that, simply because the writing on Enterprise, I'm sorry, even if you like it, is not as good as the rest.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't enjoy it. In fact, I stopped watching it about like 4 seasons in because I couldn't stand the amount of that like rubbing oil on each other scenes. I couldn't handle it anymore. I was out. That's my very like biggest complaint with Enterprise. And even if you're just take a look at all the scenes that Voyager that Jerry Ryan was in and all the scenes that Jolene was in, she gets a lot more like her body gets treated as a joke. Like she just falls on Archer and her boobs are in his face for some reason. Like they gave her
Yeah.
a
See
lot
that
of
meme?
those scenes.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's a meme about that where her boobs are once again on someone's face, and like the caption was just like, Jolene put up with a lot.
Yeah.
I really appreciate her for being on the show and like doing this over and over again.
Not only did I see that meme, but one of the top comments on it was a dude being like, well, she got a paycheck for it, so she should have just put up with it. So if you're ever wondering why I'm angry about stuff like that, that's
Yeah.
why. Okay.
And
so,
And I will admit-
yeah, unfortunately, Jolene just didn't have as strong of a character to play through and get out of that catsuit.
yeah. And I will admit, I do know. So Sabrina and I are friends and are close, and I do know this about her. And I actually wanted to hear.
I was gonna say.
Well, yeah, and I wanted to hear your take because that's so we're 3 men and you are the woman of the podcast, and I want you to Like, I wanted to hear that, and I want to hear your take on that stuff, because that's a side that we don't always get to see or hear as men. You know what I mean?
I am non-binary.
Non-binary.
But,
I apologize. Sorry.
I've experienced the world as a lady, so I take your meaning. I just wanted to make that clear for listeners.
Apologies.
You have a blessed point of view that we don't have.
Right.
Yeah.
Much like each one of us actually has. But yeah, it's important.
That's why it's important to get a diverse representation, etc.
Absolutely.
While I'm talking about it.
Absolutely. And apologies for misspeaking.
No problem. That's one of the great things that I love about Star Trek. You know, Star Trek is always, despite people being like, Star Trek wasn't political in '67. I don't know what you're talking about. You had a Japanese dude and a Russian dude sitting next to each other at the helm of an American ship. Excuse me, you are wrong. So unfortunately, Star Trek does have a history of treating its female characters kind of poorly. You know, there's famously that stuff that happened with Grace Lee Whitney behind the scenes, famously the stuff that happened to Dax, famously the stuff that happened with Marina, and Crusher didn't get the best treatment either at the beginning. Finally, like, they put Marina in a real uniform, but, you know, like, Star Trek hasn't been doing super well there. It's fine. It's improving.
Marina going in a real uniform was her call, and it helped create her character into a better character.
Absolutely.
It was because, like, so when she was younger and it was her call, and when she was younger and thinner, she preferred the beautiful slinky costumes, but then she got a little older and, like, she started filling out, so she felt that, like, a Starfleet costume would be more flattering for her, and God, it looked great on her. And then it forced her character to actually develop into a Starfleet officer.
The writing for a character definitely improved,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. So it was a fun, like, accidental thing where she's like, I don't look good in these anymore, and it turned into better writing, which is
plus it gave us a great moment in Jellicoe.
Yes.
Jellicoe's always Jellicoe's always great.
Yeah, I love that. Just to talk about Delco really quickly, I love that one episode where he shows up and, like, he's all sorts of, you're not my real dad, and you're just a jerk, and I hate you. And then by the end of the episode, you're like, oh God, he was right a lot. Oh my God, like, without
he's
like
like
a real,
stern
like,
and
person
angry
here,
dad.
like, yep, but he was right, and he got people through the danger. So yeah, I love Jericho.
All right, well, any last thoughts?
Nope.
I like the design of the Voyager. It's a beautiful spaceship.
Oh yeah, I did like design of the Voyager. It makes me
It was
think of
very pretty,
Swan.
But
I don't know why.
God, it grew on me.
I just love the retracting, or the moving warp nacelles. That was such a that was so different
Same.
compared to every other starship we've seen since up until then, and it was just very cool.
Remember when they separated the saucer from the Virgin TNG? They were like, "Look how cool it is," and then never did it again.
Yeah, I know. They only did it 3 or 4 times. I know. It was crazy.
I mean, fair enough. You probably don't want to reuse that too much, but
Definitely thought it was going to be a thing.
yeah.
and then
it
stopped
didn't.
being a thing.
They were like, "We have a ship. It has a massive civilian complement. It has a small military complement. We fixed it so we could leave the civilian complement behind when we get in a war." So that's cool.
Stop
Every time they
bringing
get in a
civilians
fight,
into
they're
war
like, "Oops,
zones."
the civilians are dying."
Or the saucer, or we could use the saucer as a separate attack vector, with the phasers, and you know what I mean? Like, it was cool, but it didn't get used that much. But Voyager was cool. And then the ablative hole, later in Voyager, when they get the ablative hole, it's like the shields that wrap around the ship that are just metal covers. I mean, that's just,
like the Batmobile.
it's just, there's something like primal about the awesomeness of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was very cool.
You guys are some nerds. Go play Star Trek Online.
I know. For the record, I have that ship in Star Trek Online with the ablative armor.
Oh, okay. Good.
I have
So do I.
Riker's Titan class ship.
No. I have the.
yeah.
I have so many ships, but I have. I haven't played it in like 4 or 5 years, but.
I'm sorry I said
Oh
anything.
man, I need to play more.
Well,
Agreed.
y'all should
Same.
play together
Agreed.
then.
I
What are you
know.
doing? I'm not getting back
true.
in. You can't.
Yeah,
Alright.
right.
Come on.
I fell down that
Yeah.
hole already.
One
I
of
came
us.
out. I'm
One
done.
of us.
I think-
No, I'm on a different MMO right now.
I feel like you have. Yeah.
Hey, just
Yeah,
a
I
few,
feel like you
just
have
a few
some
missions.
family
What?
members that might help us talk you into it too.
No, family
Right?
members. No. I do have friends that will try to like
Yeah.
trick me, but I'm very hard to trick, you know.
Oh, I know.
All right. I think we're done for today, my friends. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you all next episode, I hope. Let us know about your favorite Jerry Ryan moments in the comments. And we will talk to you next week.
Honor and
Bye,
pleasure.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for listening.
Take care. Lay boot.